Welcome to another tutorial. Today, we are going to be going over granular synthesis, which I guess, well, I haven't really gone over it before, but it's something that I like a lot and enjoy a lot and like playing around with and stuff. So, this is SoundGrain. Um, this is, I think, for me, the best way to sort of explain granular synthesis because it's very straightforward, um, in terms of the technicalities of how granular synthesis works. So, what granular synthesis is basically you have a chunk of audio. Let's say you have an audio file. Um, then, through granular synthesis, you are chopping up this audio into small grains of audio. This can be slicing the audio. You can think of it as like slicing the audio into small grains. Then each one of these grains has an envelope attached to it. So when you trigger a grain, it will play that grain with the shape of a certain envelope to control the amplitude or to control the volume of that grain. Um, then, depending on the timing of when the grains are triggered and the length of the different grains, the grains can overlap. The grains can be played back sequentially, can be played back in order, which would make the sound sort of stretch. You can use the grains. Yeah, you can play the grains in order, which will play your sound in order, so it'll sound more or less like the original audio content. But depending on the spacing of the grains, this can stretch out the audio or speed up the audio while keeping the same pitch. That's how a lot of time stretching works. Um, or you can play these grains back randomly and get a sort of new manipulated source of audio. But all of that will make sense in a sec when I sort of visualize it with SoundGrain. So SoundGrain is a free granular synthesis software. It's standalone, it's not a VST, and there's a bunch of things. And first, we have to choose an audio source. So I have bring up Finder. This is gonna be our first audio source. I was trying to find things to use, but I don't really know. Uh, I didn't really know what to choose because I have so many random samples. But I thought this beat would make sense. This is our first audio. So it's good to start off with a familiar sound so that you know sort of what the granular thing is doing. So this is just a kalimba. We're gonna drag this in kalimba. I think it's a kalimba. Correct me if I'm wrong. Drag it in here. We have our audio source. It shows us. And so what SoundGrain does is you draw a trajectory, um, and that is sort of telling us the direction that we want our sound to be sequenced in. So right now, and then, so x is the x-axis of this is time. The y-axis of this is mapped to pitch, which I don't really like, and you can change that in the settings here when we get to that. But for right now, I'm just gonna draw a trajectory up here, which will more or less just play our sound in the time that in the pitch that it is, and over the course of the time. So draw an OK. So now it's looping through our sound. It's just playing it sequentially. If I move this, change the pitch. Let's keep it up here for now. And then I'm gonna go into File over here and open Granular Controls. Now granular controls. Well, we can go over this first. When you just open SoundGrain, there'll be 2 pages of stuff over here. trajectory is free, which just means you can draw whatever you want. There's also a circle or a little oscillator-looking thing or a straight line. For drawing, for the sound, there's a low pass cutoff for the sound, which I guess we just want all the way up because we want to hear all the sound. There's the oscillation period for if we're drawing an oscillator or an oscil. And then there's a scale for that. There's a frequency, or there's resonance or Q for the low pass filter. It's a 4-band EQ with frequencies that you can choose, and then there's a little compressor and then a global amplitude. The playback, there's this timer, which is like the time that the speed of this line right here, and then there's how many steps it's using. It's like stepping through the sequence, and then an amplitude for that line. And you can choose your trajectory that you're editing here. Let's get into our granular controls, which are here. So the first control is density. So density basically means how many grains are going to be played back. So when the density is at 2, only 2 grains are going to be played back. And those grains will have a certain duration. So right now it's 200 milliseconds, but I can make it longer. Then with a higher density, we get more overlapping of the grains because the grains have a long duration and higher density. Then there's panning, so I can do random panning of the grains. Of random duration, random density. And then this is mapping the y-axis of things, so I just turned off the transposition multiplier, so now it's just our normal pitch. Change our timing. Now we can stretch it out, sort of time stretch it, less, bring the grains less. As you heard, when it gets to the end, then there's not that much time left. So there isn't 600 milliseconds left in the last 300 milliseconds of it. So it'll cut it off. And that's why it gets kind of quiet towards the end. But this doesn't have to be our trajectory. We can do a trajectory that goes like this. So now when it's going upward, it's just sticking in this, it's staying in that time or that note's being hit, so it's just dragging it out basically. Then the second most important thing about Granular is the envelope. So this is what our envelope looks like here, and you can hear our envelope if we have smaller grains, smaller duration grains, and smaller amount of grains. Let's hear what this sounds like. So you can hear our envelope fades in and then fades out. And that's also what our shape looks like. So if we change our shape to like some sort of exponential shape, that's just like a, and that's what that sounds like. You could hear that. We could add 2 of those. This could be over here and make them longer. And this would be our amplitude. Then we can do, we can change our density, or have more random density. Change our or have more random duration. Then we get sort of like a, almost get like a vinyl crackle. You can EQ out all of the EQ out all the low. Have no random, we just have it get some fun patterning when you have no random on that, and just play with the duration. And this is the global pitch. But let's choose a different sound source. Let's have it on oscil. How our steps back down. I have all these pretty random. Then there's also effects on this. They come in balls, so there's effects balls. And we can see what a reverb ball sounds like if we put it somewhere where we're going to hear it. Let's put it over here. Drag it to make it bigger. And double click it for the... Oop, nope. Oh, shit. Drag our ball over here. Make our speed faster. Right click it for the effects, yes. So when it gets over there, it should go through the reverb ball. So that's a cool thing. You can have, let's make the feedback cutoff, amplitude. There's a delay ball. Flanger ball. Harmonizer ball. Transpose it by 12. Let's transpose it by 3, by 4. It's 12 is a little high. Let's compress it. But yeah, you can do a lot of cool stuff with Granular, and this is just one example of how to do it in SoundGrain, how to use SoundGrain. I think you can also map MIDI to things, memorize trajectory, MIDI settings, interface, pitch mapping, transposition. Yeah. But thank you for watching. I want to do more tutorials on Granular. I might do a tutorial on Granular with the ER301 sound computer, which is a Eurorack module. Also really good representation, visual and sonic representation of how Granular might work. Yeah, so more tutorials to come in the future. Thanks for watching.